Hello and welcome to the Manitowoc Ice Training Center. My name is Tanner. Today we're going to be going over how to install the iAuCS, and we're going to be going into the actual training center and showing you step by step how to do so as well. So let's get started. So to begin, just another reminder, at the end of this presentation there'll be a little quiz. If you guys want to take it, go ahead and do so. You can take it on a computer, laptop, or you can take it on your phone. Now just remember, we can't exactly get you the results of the quiz. If you want those, just remember to hit submit and then take a screenshot or any way you would like to keep those results for yourself. That's how you can do that. Okay, so the iAuCS itself. iAuCS stands for Automatic Cleaning System. Now this little guy will hang on the side of your ice machine, and it will periodically, depending on what time interval that you set it at, it will shoot a little bit of cleaning solution into the trough and begin its own cleaning cycle. Now the way this works, you can set it to clean every 1 month, every 2 months, every 3 months, all the way up to 6 months. You can set this thing to run a cleaning cycle. Now, obviously this won't completely get rid of every cleaning that you need to do. You still want to have that every 6 month detailed cleaning in addition to this iAuCS system. Now what this iAuCS system is really for is to kind of help you last throughout that 6 months in between each detailed cleaning. Now let's say your machines get a little more dirtier than you would like in between the 6 month period. The iAuCS system is going to help you prolong a clean machine in between those 6 months of detailed cleaning. So again, this doesn't completely replace that, very important detailed clean. Now we'll get into a little bit of installation here, but again, we're going to actually show you how to install it when we are out in the training center. We have a machine out there ready to go, and we'll go step by step out there, but I'll also get into a little bit here just so we can, know what we're about to do out there. So as far as height requirements, now our height requirements is that the iAuCS box must be within 2 inches top or bottom of the box of the base of the ice machine. Okay, so I can kind of show you here. This is the base of that ice machine. All right, we have our box. We want to make sure the top of that box or the bottom of that box is within 2 inches of the base of this ice machine. Okay, now as far as distance away from the ice machine, now in the case out in the training center, we're going to hook it onto the bin itself. We'll get into that a little bit in a second. But in some cases, you might want to hang it on the wall or hang it a distance away from the machine. Now, we have a maximum of 9 feet that you can install this away from the machine. Simply, there's a few reasons. There's only a certain amount of wiring that comes to it. There's only a certain amount of vinyl tubing that comes with it. And the tubing itself, if you have that full 9 feet of tubing filled up with cleaner, okay, it's going to use most of the bottle that's sitting in that iAuCS box, okay? So we're going to say at most 9, but most of the time you're going to be a lot closer to that. And if you are closer to that, you can obviously trim off some of the tubing that you don't use, okay? All right, so for installing on the actual bin, in the kit, it comes with a bracket that you'll bracket onto the actual bin itself, and then with that bracket you'll take your iAuCS box and hang it on that bracket. Like I said, we'll show you guys how to do that in a second. Now when you place that bracket onto the bin, you're going to be covering up some of the tape, so what you're going to do is take some of that foam tape off, that seal tape, okay, and you're going to put your bracket on, and then it comes with a little extra seal tape to just replace it once that bracket is on there. So you get a nice good seal underneath that ice machine. Okay, so for setting up our line voltage connections, we're going to run the line voltage wire that we have from the iAuCS to the ice machine through the control box and into the contactor. Now you'll have to get your own little spade fittings on there to actually connect to the contactor as well. So just remember that you'll have to have little spade fittings to put on there. It's also something that you could hook a plug to, connect to the wall, but we're connecting to the contactor this time around. Next is our communication wire, all right? So the communication wire is still going to get fed the same way through the ice machine into the control box and up to the control board. Now on the control board at the very top left, you're going to see an iAuCS port. It's a little 4-pin port. That's where you're going to connect. Now this is a little communication wire. This tells the machine, hey, we have an iAuCS system. We have to actually add that to the operation here. Once that is plugged into the board, we have an iAuCS system. We're ready to get that set up. So again, your little connections at the top left, it's just a 4-pin plug that you'll plug into on the board. Okay, next is our vinyl tubing. Now with this, we're going to have a lot of extra depending on how far away you put that iAuCS system, okay? So we're going to want to try to do as straight of a shot as possible, so no loops, so there's no air gaps, things like that, and any excess tube we're going to cut off, okay? So we're going to line it up with a hole that is next to the water pump. Most of the machines, they're either going to have a cap or some kind of plastic little barrier there that will take a screwdriver and pop through. So once we've kind of popped that little plastic barrier with a screwdriver, we're going to take the little Y fitting that comes with our package, and we're going to stick the one barb down in through the hole aiming into the trough. All right, and then one of the Ys we're going to connect our tubing, and then the other side we're going to put a little cap. The little installation box should come with a little red cap that you can use, or if the machine had one of the little caps that you had to pop out, go ahead and slap that on there as well if you can't find the little red one. Once we have that all set up, okay, we have our iAuCS hung on the wall, we have our tube going into the ice machine, we have both of our wire connections made. We're going to double check inside the actual iAuCS box and make sure everything is up and running on there. So we're going to take the panels off, okay, and we're going to check that our pump is hooked up correctly. And then we're going to also put in our little chemical bottle. Now the chemical bottle will come with a tube that connects to the bottle, and the other side of the tube will connect to the pump. Now we need to figure out what kind of chemical we're going to put in this. So we have two options. We have a descaler or we have a sanitizer. Now I will say, depending on what you choose, more than likely you will go with the sanitizer. If you have harder water, you see that the ice machine is getting scaled up a lot quicker, then you might want to go with the descaler. But otherwise, go with the sanitizer. That'll do good for you. Okay, so we have our bottle hooked up. It's inside the box. We can close everything up. Now after that, we need to actually prime the hose. Now the hose that's going to the ice machine is empty. It's just full of air. So if it went into a cleaning sequence, no chemical would get into the trough this first time around. So we want to make sure we fill up that little tube with some cleaner. So to do that, we're going to go through our menu. We're going to go to service, and then we're going to go to iAuCS, okay? iAuCS will show up. We have that on off there. We're going to go ahead and click the on button. Okay, now that's just going to activate that little pump in the iAuCS system. It's going to start to dispense some of the cleaner, and then it will start a cleaning sequence. And then after that cleaning sequence, it'll turn off the machine. Okay, so since we're in this off state now, we want to set up the actual interval between each cleaning cycle that it automatically does. Like I said, we have the option of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 months of cleaning intervals that we can decide. So we're going to hit that menu button, we're going to go to settings, and then we're going to get iAuCS. And then in this area, this is where we can set up how many months that we do it. So we're going to hit that on button, make sure our iAuCS system is turned on, it's ready to use, and then we'll use those arrows to choose between 1 to 6 months. Now this is just going to be whatever you feel is necessary in this situation, so that is up to you. And then once you have chosen the frequency of cleanings that you want, all you got to do is hit the home button and you're all set to start up. All right, now just to cover the actual sequence of operations on the cleaning itself. So whenever that time interval has started, so let's say we wanted to clean every month. Okay, so now it's time to clean. What it'll do, the program will begin by purging the water out of the trough, okay? And the water will fill the trough up into that high probe. Once the high level probe is satisfied, the iAuCS will pump the right amount of chemical into the trough, and then it will begin a 10-minute wash, kind of circulating the water over the evaporator through the water pump, through the distribution tube, and just kind of over and over again for about 10 minutes or so. It's kind of like a little wash cycle, all right? And then after that, it'll do 6 rinses and flushes, okay? So it's going to circulate and then it'll flush that water. It'll circulate again, it'll flush the water. Circulate again, flush the water. And then once those 6 are done, it'll go back into the ice making sequence. So that's kind of how the sequence of operations works for that iAuCS system. All right, so we kind of covered installation, a little bit how it works. Let's go actually show you how to install, and then we'll come back over here.
Welcome back to the Tom Decker Memorial Training Center. Today we're going to show you how to do the installation process of an iAuCS, an Indigo automatic cleaning system. So first step that you're going to do, we're going to mount this to our bin. So you'll notice the ice machine behind us here. You're going to have this bracket. We're going to mount it and target it right here. Then you're going to need this gasket material, so that way you don't cause sweating here. So we're going to take this off. We're going to adhere that here for a better seal on our bin. And we're good to go there. Next, we're going to grab the actual iAuCS module. We're going to use these keyholes. You could mount this to a wall, but that's not what we're doing today. We're going to use these little bump out tabs to hold this in place. And don't worry about the rest of this stuff. We'll get to that here in a minute. So for the sake of time, we didn't show landing the ice machine. Next, you're going to take off the front, the top, and the right panels of the machine. So we've already unscrewed our holes. This is real easy here. I'm going to try to get the camera a little bit closer. There's a little tab here. I can get this door off real easy. You could use a pen, but I'm going to use a screwdriver. Front panel is removed. I'll take off the top. One of the things I love about Manitowoc ice machines is I don't need tools other than a screwdriver to begin doing all of this. And the right panel removed. Now we're going to have to knock out a connection here in the back to route our electrical that we have down here. So I'm going to use a razor knife. Be safe with whatever you're doing. We're going to get that little hole off of there. All right, so we have our strain relief. So that way we can route our cable as we need. I'm going to route in through my junction box because this is high voltage. You may need a set of pliers to be able to pull these through. Bring the camera over here and show you that we came through. Now notice, the ice machine's unplugged. We're playing with line voltage here. We want to be safe. We will connect this once I know we have enough routing to get through. We'll pull some of our slack back to make sure that we're only using what we need. All right, so we're going to go through one of these Heco fittings here. We're going to go through the same area that the compressor wiring is. Because what we're going to do here is we're going to plug this into the contactor. All right, so we're going to need to wire this all to the line side of the contactor. That's going to be here. I'm going to match my black wire with the black L1 and my white wire with the white L2 on my contactor. Try to make sure we get a good look in here, at least on the black wire you will. All right, we're on that one. Bear with us while we get our L2 wire connected, which will be much harder for you to see, so we apologize for that, but you're getting the idea. All right, L1, L2. Now, the one thing that we have not done is our ground wire. We're going to need to find one of our ground nuts on here, which we have. Notice I'm mostly using hand tools just because of the amount of room that I have. I'll go by hand until I'm close. and use my nut driver to get us home. You really only need to go wrench tight. Once you feel a little resistance, you're good. Now, I did unplug my compressor compartment wiring harness just for the purpose of the video, so we're going to put that back in. This is not one of the steps, but to give myself a little more room, I unplugged that. All right, so that is the high voltage wiring. All right, we're going to route our low voltage separate from our high voltage. You don't want to be causing erratic issues here. What we've got here is more strain relief. So, route through. With this, it's not as tight, so we're going to screw this on right away. What we're going to do here is we're going to go through a different Heco fitting. So our high voltage went through here. We're going to go through here with our thermistors. Now you'll see that we're through. On the control board itself, it's going to be hard to see, but this 4-pin Molex connector here on the other side, it says iAuCS. That's what's going to plug in. This is pokey-oked. It'll only go in one way. Now, for the sake of the video, we're not going to show you coiling all this back up, but we would want to shorten these so they're not just hanging out for someone to trip on. And at this point, we'll show you how to move into the bottle as well as the priming portion. All right, so what we're going to show next, there is a membrane you have to poke through on this hole, this base here, next to the water inlet valve. That's how we route our tubing. So I'm just going to use a screwdriver. Now the reason why we don't have the power plugged into this ice machine. And you hear that little pop there. It's just a plastic membrane that's meant to be able to be poked through. You may need to kind of move it around so that way you can get your hose in there as you need to. All right, you're going to need to do a little bit of silicone on this Y fitting. This is the piece that will allow the chemical to come from the automatic cleaning system to the water trough. But you want to seal your food zone back up, so we're going to just do a little silicone on here. And then we will install this Y fitting where we poke the hole. All right, you heard the pop? We're in there. We also need to put this little red plug on one of those holes on this Y fitting. So we're going to put it on the side that the camera can easily see. Little red fitting. This would have been a lot easier, everyone, had I done this while I had the Y fitting in my hand before it was in the machine. All right, we have our Y fitting, our plug on the Y fitting installed. All right, we're going to route our tubing now. Then we'll shorten it to length. So now we're connecting. Again, I would recommend doing this while it's on the outside next time. But this is a large length of hose that we have, so we're going to shorten this up by accessing the pump. There is a screw on the underside as well. So what you'll see here is that we have our hose We're going to pull that off. You got to remember, once we prime this, we have to fill the length of this hose. You're going to use a lot of chemical to be able to do that. All right, so I've got almost all of my slack removed from here, so I'm going to do a little snip and connect this again. All right, and we're back on. All right, so you've seen everything else that we've been doing to this point. Now you need to put the type of chemical you need. I'm sure previously in the video you've heard determining what chemical that you do need. We're going to put in Manitowoc Ice Machine Sanitizer, nickel safe sanitizer. So this would be a situation where we're dealing with a lot of yeast or a lot of airborne contaminants. Things like sandwich shops, breweries, bars with a lot of taps, and pizza shops. So we'll show you how to get this thing in there. All right, so you just have 2 screws holding in this left side, and that's what we're going to take off. Try not to lose your fasteners. I'm one that's known to do that quite a bit. And that left side comes right off. So what you notice here is there's a little funnel, there's a hose and a cap. If you're going to use the pints, you'll just take this top off and put this on. But one more thing we want to show you. The iAuCS kit does come with a refillable bottle. For those of you who are buying our chemical in the gallon variety, you could just refill this over and over, or you'd have to put in a new bottle each time. But for lack of transferring, you just want that to bottom out. It's going to screw in. Get your bottle in place. Realign your holes. And then just fasten this cover back on. So the right side's your pump. Left side's just for your bottle. Pump's going to move from the bottle through this hose into your trough. And we'll show you how to go through the menu here and set this up. So there are 2 ways with this priming portion that I'm about to show you that you may have to do. If the board did not immediately recognize that you have an aux, you're going to want to go through the startup wizard so that way it can try to pick up any sort of accessories that are in there, but I haven't typically seen that. So what you'll end up seeing is that it will pick it up. So what you're going to do is you're going to go menu, service, and you'll see the iAuCS indicator. This will not be present on any service menu unless the iAuCS is plugged into the board as we showed you earlier. So at this point, I would go to iAuCS and I would turn on the automatic cleaning system. And it says my iAuCS pump is activated. It's going to activate after your water has filled up your water trough. So now we're going to show you how to change the interval on your iAuCS. I know you saw this on a previous bit of the screen there, but we'll show you directly on a Indigo Next user interface display. So we're going to go into the menu, settings. We don't see iAuCS yet, but we've got some arrow keys here. So we're going to go to the right, and there's iAuCS. I'm going to choose iAuCS. The aux is on. Right now it's set to go off every month. Maybe you need it every month because you do a lot of yeast-heavy business making bread. Or you realize, you know what, I only need to get through my system every now and then until somebody comes to clean it. I can arrow up, say every 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. You could choose 6 months. I'm not sure why you'd pick 6 because the machine does need to be broken down and given a detailed cleaning and sanitizing every 6 months, but you are able to use these arrows to go between 1 and 6 months. So we'll arrow back down. Typically I see a 2 or a 3 is what most of the customers I speak to say. So now you know how to install the iAuCS on an Indigo Next ice machine. Remember that little Y fitting and that membrane you got to push through. That's the hardest thing that you'll see out there. Had a technician in Manitowoc, Wisconsin call in about that same problem. Ran into this technician out in town, said the same thing to me. If you did like everything that you saw today, please do us a favor and like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. But now we're going to send it over back to our presenter, Tanner, in our audio-visual room. Thanks a lot, guys. Thank you, Tanner.
Okay, so that's how the installation goes. For upcoming spotlights, we have in September the Indigo NXT sequence of operations that'll be taken over by Jason or myself. And then in October, we have the Indigo NXT freeze-ups or covering the data history, and also be done by me and or Jason. Now we have ideas for the next few months, and we obviously have a good amount of ideas coming for the future, but we do these kind of spotlights for you guys. If you have any questions, if you want some sort of video made on information, let us know in the comments, or you can scan this QR code. It brings you to a little survey that you can fill out, and then we can see it from there. And don't forget, there is a quiz at the end. So remember, if you want those quiz results, just make sure you submit, and then you take a screenshot of the test results. And then for every 25 test results that have been submitted, we'll do a little drawing for our swag bag here. All right, here's that test quiz. If you guys have any questions, let us know. Any ideas, put them in the comments or in that little survey that I had built up. Otherwise, good luck on your quizzes, and thank you guys for stopping in. Appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.